All right, welcome to Lou's how-to videos again. All right, we're going to focus on using Pfsense, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use Pfsense and how we can do some different things. So just go ahead and go to your favorite website, go to Pfsense, go to downloads, and go ahead and download the ISO. So while we're doing that, let's talk about what we can do. So what we can do is take a virtual machine, like an example here. We have our router. We can have two NICs, and we can have one kind of like the outside, so this would get our home 192 address. This could be a 10 or 172 address, and this would be sort of internal. And then from here we can build multiple systems that could come out. So like an example, we'll take Fedora. Ooh, getting a little crazy there with my drawings. So anyways, we could take that and build a multiple network here with different things. All right, so now that I have my thing downloaded, so let me go ahead and go to my VirtualBox. All right, so one of the things you need to do is also download and unzip that file, because that ISO is a zip file of it. So once you unzip it, you should be able to do the following things. So we're going to go ahead and go to New. I'm going to call it Router, or you can call it Pfsense. And we're going to browse using our version of Pfsense. There we go. Other, we're going to choose BSD 64. We're going to hit Next. Again, we want to give it a little bit more CPU, depending on how many you have and how much RAM. Here we can go with the default, which is perfectly fine. And we're going to hit Finished. So we need to do one additional thing. We're going to go to Settings, go to our Network tab. We're going to enable this as Bridge. So this will get our home internal IP address. And then our second, we're going to enable the second one, and we're going to set that as internal. And then we're going to hit OK. So it's important to do that in the right order. So now as we fire up the VM, and so the one thing I do want to make a note, just in case I forgot, when installing this, when you're done, it doesn't eject the CD, so you have to shut it down to remove the CD or force the CD. So like I've done that in the past, sometimes it would cause it to crash, and it's just easier when it's done, instead of saying reboot, shut it off and then unmount the CD. That will make your life much easier. All right, so we're gonna hit accept. And there is not much we can do with a mouse, so don't even worry about your mouse anymore. So we're going to go ahead and choose install. We're going to go with the default mappings. We're going to go with the default partitioning. And then here it's saying this is what we're going to do. I'm going to say okay, cool. We're not have multiple drives, so we're just going to do stripe. Here's a part that everybody has a hard time with. You want to hit the space bar. So that puts the asterisk in there, and then hit enter. And then arrow over and say, yes, I'm cool with wiping this, because again, this is a fresh VM. And there we have the install going. Then we're going to just say no. And then here's what I would do. Instead of rebooting, you could power the machine off, because I have a hard time getting rid of the CD. So it's just easier. Power it off. Now it's powered off. You can go into settings, go to storage, click on your ISO, click remove virtual disk, and hit start again. Because I usually have a little difficulty getting it to reboot. So I just do it that way. And then here we go. All right. Now it's booted up. Here we see a couple of important things. We want to make sure we have targeted correctly. So our WAN should have our internal IP address, which it has 192.168.2. Perfect. So then our LAN has a 192.161. There we go. Nice and easy. All right. So at this point, we don't need to do much. So I'm just going to minimize that. And we're going to go try my Fedora and see how this works. So we're going to go to settings. We're going to change the network from bridge to internal. So this will go through the router. And we'll see in a second if it does. So we're going to hit start. All right, once we're logged into our other OS that's set up with our network card, let's open up our browser again. Here we're presented a self-signed certificate, so we're going to go ahead and go through the steps to accept it. And now our username should be admin and Pfsense. There we go. I'm not going to worry about hitting save. Now we're just going to go through the steps. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. So we got roughly 9 steps to do. So again, we can change the name of the system. I'm not going to go through all these different things. And here we can set up our primary DNS. So I'm just going to add 4.2. And then, yes, I'm going to do DNS override so you can allow it to be override by the provider. Again, here we can set up the time zone. You can scroll through and look for your different time zones. Here we can scroll up, and here we got a large different choices. I'm going to pick Chicago. Hit next. And again, we can set up our configuration for our WAN interface. It's set up for DHCP. If we had other other configuration needs like PPOE or static, again, depending on your ISP. Again, if you need to clone a MAC address, you can do that. Again, you can set in your information right here. I'm just going to scroll down since I don't need any of that. And then here, in just setting up the LAN IP with the DHCP. And then we're going to, set up a new admin password. So there, I'm just going to hit next. And, well, this is a VM, so I'm not worried about it. Then we're going to hit reload. And then you may or may not lose your network connectivity depending on your network. Again, if you're having problems logging in, some other things I want to just go over real quick. You may want to go to your settings and, like an example, I put in here, I had some problems getting in. Just making sure you have, either dynamic or static your IP address. And another thing you may want to check if you're doing it in VirtualBox, when you're changing your network settings, this could happen where under advanced this may have been unchecked. That was one of the things I had a problem with earlier, reconfiguring this. Somehow when I changed my network settings, the cable was no longer connected. So those are things that you may want to look into if you're having other issues of getting to log in. Again, now here we go. We have it set up. So let's go ahead and do our updates. And that's pretty much to get this going. So while this is getting its updates, here, just going to go to msn.com. And you can see this virtual is going through the second virtual and then out to my home. So pretty cool. So I just want to show that to you guys. All right, so we'll have a part 2 video of this to go through some of the different interfaces or the setups of this. All right.